everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Black Student Success Podcast, brought to you by Inquire Higher, where we seek insight and guidance from successful Black professionals. My name is Ashley Quire, and as always, thank you for tuning in. Joining me today is Ray Whearley. He works in the area of construction management, and we're going to go through his unique journey and all the things he learned along the way. So, hello, Ray. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
First question, of course. Our first question, we like to give all of our guests, a chance to brag on yourselves. You made it this far. You deserved it.
Yeah.
Who is Ray Wearley?
So in short, I'm just a young Black male, and I'm not even sure if I can really use young anymore. But
We're not
I will.
aging ourselves.
Well, I can. But yeah, I'm just a guy who's pretty passionate about construction, architecture and design, and everything that goes into infrastructure and how it's built. I'm big on giving back to the community through mentorship programs. And basically for me, I have this long-term goal of continuing to introduce Black people into the construction industry, because I think it's one of those industries that's going to last. And it's something that we can use more African Americans and minorities in the industry, and not just as tradesmen or tradeswomen, but in management as well. So that's kind of who I am and what I'm about. Yeah.
Great. I think that was great. Thank you so much. No, I definitely agree. That would be great to see more of us in management, but we'll get into that a little bit.
For sure.
Let's go into exactly what's your title and what do you do? What does it look like?
So I'm an assistant project manager. That's my current title. But basically I'll be managing my own project here shortly. So as a project manager, what I do is I'm basically responsible for the overall direction, completion, and financial outcome of a project. I oversee the project schedule and budget to make sure that we finish early, we finish under budget, and our bottom line is always protected. And along with that, it's my job to make sure we deliver a quality product to the client and do so safely with no injuries. So I think, in short, as a project manager, it's important for me to have my hands in all aspects of the project and make sure it's successful from beginning to end.
All right, that's great. So Let's get into a little bit of, construction in general. That's not something that, we go to school and our parents tell us you can become a lawyer, a doctor, or a teacher, right? Construction isn't something that is well known in our community. What are some other positions that you can think of within the realm of construction?
So within construction, basically, if you're in school and if you're going a college route and you go into the construction industry, you start off as a project engineer typically, or a field engineer as they call it, and you're basically doing a lot of the paperwork and documentation, and you're getting your hands, dirty out in the field, helping out with layout and surveying and things of that nature. But there's so many avenues you can take. I've dealt with a lot of architects who are now project managers for construction companies and vice versa. And then I know a lot of tradesmen who started off as, a carpenter or an electrician, worked their way to being a foreman for that particular trade, and then eventually became a superintendent for a construction company. So there's a lot of avenues and different ways you can take. And I try to encourage, the younger generation to take a look at the skilled tradesmen, because you don't necessarily have to, you go to school, you can go to school, but you don't have to put yourself in so much debt to get a successful job. And then you get that job and you can work your way up into management very easily. So those are some of the things that I try to push the younger generation and the high school kids and just starting out college kids to think about, as they enter into their careers.
No, I agree. There are different routes to get to your position is what you're getting
Correct.
at.
Yeah.
Which is 100% what we agree on. Inquirer started honestly because we had taken out so much money in debt, and we're, in student debt. Thank goodness we're paying it off.
Right.
But I mean, you don't have to go into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt to obtain a degree. And then,
Exactly.
there are different routes out there. There's information out there. Do your research. So that's great that you highlighted that.
For sure.
Yeah. So let's take it back, way back. Your childhood.
Got it.
Your family makeup. What was that dynamic? Not every family looks the same. Not every Black family looks the same. So I like to, go into your past a little bit, little therapy session. Let's see what that was about and how that brought you to where you are today.
Okay. So yeah, I was born and raised in Chicago. And during my younger years, I lived on the South Side with my mom and my little brother and older sister. And then around 7, I went to live with my dad and my stepmom in Atlanta. And we only stayed in Atlanta for a couple of years before moving back to Chicago, where I finished grade school at St. James, which is right around 35th and State Street. I think they're actually closed now. And then from there, I went to attend St. Ignatius College Prep, where, I met you, obviously, and where I also met my would-be wife, Kara. But yeah, I got a pretty close family. Like my mom and my stepmom are really tight. And, it's just something you don't see very often. And I think that played a major role into, where I am now, just because I had that support. And I didn't have that, animosity between them, the two parents. And they were always together, at any events that I had or graduations. And that meant a lot to me. And that truly, helped in my upbringing. So yeah, that's kind of, my background for the most part. And, been in Chicago for the majority of my life, except for the few times I traveled for Walsh and when I went to Michigan State. So, yeah.
That's beautiful. Yes, I do know you're from high school. We were just chatting before this and saying how this feels like I feel like I'm having mini reunions, which is great. Right. And congratulations again. That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
That support is so important, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm not crying. What's happening. That support is so important for students. I mean, if you don't have it at home, search for it.
Right.
Look for, look online, look for areas of opportunity.
Correct.
Get involved, get into a mentorship program, because that really sets that foundation. So It's great that you had that foundation. So we went through high school, we got through high school. That's where we met. Go Ignatius, Woots. It was good. What inspired you to get into your major? I believe you majored in social sciences.
Yes.
What inspired you to even, consider it?
I'll be honest. I had no idea what I wanted to do when I went to Michigan State, and for me,
that's fair. Yeah.
Ever since I was young and I was in 8th grade, I had in my mind that I wanted to be this sports writer, analyst, like, the next Stuart Scott. Journalism pretty much was my thing back then. And I actually applied to University of Missouri, which was like my number one choice at the time. But I just so happened to go to Michigan State for a shadow day first. And, a kid going to a college campus for the first time, I didn't need to go anywhere else. So I just was like, you know what? Michigan State is the school for me. But so I pretty much went in undecided. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And just to give a little bit more background. So at Ignatius in high school, my sophomore year, I was offered this internship to Walsh Construction Company, work for Walsh Construction Company over the summer. And, I had no interest in construction, engineering, any of that at the time. But my mom was like, nah, you going to that internship, you're going to make whatever little money you can over the summer to help out around the house. So I did. And that internship taught me a lot in that I was doing like hard labor. I was painting 10-foot cargo boxes and in the hot summer and painting fences and things of that nature. But that internship led me to my next one, which was the same company the following year. And it got to a point where I was going back to that company, Walsh, every summer and every Christmas break to work for them. And that was throughout high school and eventually throughout college. So even though I came in undecided, I kind of had an idea if the journalism thing didn't work out, what I wanted to do because I was exposed to that construction industry. So I ended up taking urban planning. I went in undecided, changed it to urban planning because I couldn't do construction management. That would extend my college time too long for me at least. And then that's pretty much how I got into urban planning because it was kind of like the closest thing to construction. Basically, urban planning is you're planning 15, 20 years, 30 years out for neighborhoods that need infrastructure and building and things of that nature. So that's how I was in the urban planning. But yeah, I went in undecided, I didn't know, and I think to add to that is that I would encourage people to just high school students and people going into college to have an open mind. You can have an idea of what you want to do, but just keep an open mind because you might find something, that you like, that you didn't know you liked, or that you enjoyed and make a career out of it.
No, for sure. It's amazing how many times we're hearing the same story. You go in as one thing and you end up majoring in something completely different because you
Right.
were exposed to something, right?
Exactly.
So that's great that you had that exposure. So you're in urban planning.
Right.
What motivated you to, was it your work at Walsh that motivated you to go to grad school for your major, or?
For me, it was more so I wanted to prove to myself that this is truly the career path that I wanted to go down. So I decided to go into grad school. I went to the University of Alabama, Birmingham, and majored in construction engineering management. Now, the program was awesome for me because it was mostly online. I only had to go down to Alabama for like 3 or 4 times, and one of those times was for graduation. So I did that really for me, and even being in the industry and working for Walsh for so long, I knew that I didn't necessarily have to go get that degree, but it was something that I needed for my, personal, preference and what I wanted to do for me. So that's kind of why I wanted to get that master's degree.
100%. I feel like a lot of students also get hung up on, I feel like we felt this in high school too, like the name of the
Yeah,
school, right?
yeah,
As
right,
opposed to the education that you're actually getting
right.
out of the school and how much what did that financial aid package actually look like when you got it? Not talking about myself at all. Like those are things to really consider.
Seriously, yeah,
Right?
because
Because go ahead.
you don't want to, and we can get into this a little later, but you just one of the major things that I think about, you know, looking back and growing up is that you got to understand, you got to think think about the bigger picture, plan for the future, and you don't want to just live in the moment to where you're deciding things on the fly and not thinking about, the ultimate goal. So
Yeah, and that's also where that support system comes in, right?
yeah, exactly,
18, 17, 18, deciding on your future.
right,
Um, ask for advice, before you make that decision and submit your acceptance or not of a school. So
for sure.
yeah. I feel like I jumped ahead a little bit. I did want to get into your experience as being a Black male um, at Michigan. I mean, it doesn't have to be necessary. We're not here to rat on any school. That's never
Right.
the agenda with
Yeah, got it.
but what was it like for you? And I guess how did you make it through?
For me, I had a pretty positive experience as a Black male at MSU, and I've heard stories to where it wasn't as positive for other people, but like my sophomore and junior year, I was given an opportunity to help other Blacks coming in as freshmen through a cultural aid program. And, because I understood how it felt to be coming to a school with over 40,000 people, and especially being Black, I understood that could be a little bit overwhelming at times. So I wanted to find a way to give back, and help the incoming freshmen, who had the same struggles as I did. So I would say my overall experience was pretty positive, but I wanted to make sure it was, I had the goal of helping other students as they came into the school.
He's so positive. That is awesome. That's amazing. No, I'm sure that a lot of students feel, that culture shock. We went to Ignatius, so
Oh yeah.
I went to Marquette, another and then another PWI. So it's the adjustment wasn't much, pretty much the same as far as the demographics were, but it's good to find your people. It sounds like you found your people, and you're able to give back and, give African American students heads up and tips and advice and whatnot. So
I feel like Ignatius prepared us for that. You know what I mean? Because that was PWI by a landslide. So, it definitely prepared us for going into those colleges and understanding some of the things we may face.
No, yeah, for sure. Is there anything else you want to share about your career or your schooling?
I feel like, a lot of people might knock online programs. I feel like they're probably going to be more popular now with what's going on, but I wouldn't change that for anything because I was still working at Walsh. And I was working on a project, which, it's an awesome thing when you're able to be on a project because you can work within, the construction industry and be stuck in certain estimating roles or things that are good for you to have and experience for you to have, but it's nothing like being on a project. So I was able to do that, do the program, and still be on a project and use my field experiences with school and play off of each other, play off of them. And that helped me out, it's on both ends, in school and working out in the field. So it's, it was a great experience and it didn't cost as much as going to Michigan State, but I don't regret that at all.
Let's not talk about tuition.
Exactly.
Right? No, you were in a really good spot to be able to, you were working for Walsh, right? And so going online you're coming out ahead, essentially. You're still working, gaining that experience along the way while you're getting your master's. So that's awesome. That's amazing.
And one other thing to add to that is that, I kind of, with my mom's help, I made those relationships at Walsh to make sure that they knew who I was and what I was about and my work ethic and things of that nature. So when you do get opportunities, make sure that you take them, you reach back out to those people that helped you and you stay in contact with them because, you never want to burn any good bridges, and you want to make sure that it's all about networking. It's all about, who pretty much in a lot of our industry. So just keep those relationships and network and put yourself out there. Just, get a LinkedIn in high school. You gotta, understand those type of things.
No, for sure. Wise man over here, by the way, y'all. No, for real, network. We tell our freshmen all the time, who have you reached out to? What new teacher did you meet? And give them updates along the way. Yes, they want to hear from you. Everyone wants to hear from you. They want to hear, the good, the bad, just keep people updated and stay in contact. That's amazing.
Right.
Like relationships are really good to keep. So how important is it for you? You're such a very kind person, right? He's giving back. I went to do some research to see what he's been up to. And he is just all across the board helping everyone, just for free. Like, he has all this time. So this comes as a silly question, but how important is it to you to give back to your community?
It's very important. I feel like, my success wouldn't be as meaningful if I didn't give back to the community, and help, pull people up as I was helped back then, and I have nephews that I want to set examples for. And I want to make sure that they understand the importance of giving back to the community. And one of the things I want to push, as we were discussing earlier, is for, people to start getting into the trades at a younger age and developing these skill sets, becoming an electrician, a carpenter, a mechanical engineer, whatever it may be, because those are skills that no one can take from you. Anytime I need work done at my house, I got to call an electrician to do it. I kind of wish I started in the trades and worked my way into management. But, looking at it now, I want to push people to start going into the trades and not just, go to the most expensive college to where you'll be paying for tuition, for the rest of your life. And another thing I want to push, or I'm trying to push in the community, is financial literacy, and pushing that early. It's too often kids go to college and they get bribed into these high interest rate credit cards, just to get a free hoodie or something. And now they're in debt right out the gate. You know what I mean? So I wish financial literacy was more like a required course or curriculum in high school, just to get that going and start teaching students how to manage their money, because, that's really important, especially coming out of college.
No, for sure. Coming out of 8th grade, right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
be prepared. No, it's very interesting. Sometimes I'm reading these high school applications, and they do have that as a requirement: financial literacy and entrepreneurship and business management. And so, unfortunately, a lot of the schools that, our community attends, those aren't even offered as an elective,
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So if more things could be online or just easy to access, that would be, can you imagine this world?
I know, right?
Amazing. A whole Wakanda and a half. So it sounds like there's a lot that goes into your job. You named 12 things as though it wasn't complicated, which is hilarious. Really chill person over here, obviously. What do you do outside of work pre-COVID? What do you do for fun?
Pre-COVID, I feel like I travel. I try to travel a lot. And Kara and I, we had like 5 trips planned this year, including some weddings, and of course, all of that was postponed. So I would say traveling is one of the major things I do for fun. The obvious, I like hanging out with my family, my nephews, and my friends. But honestly, too, I'm usually involved in some type of volunteering or a mentoring program. There's a few of those that, I'm involved in, and we have events on the weekends or some like later during the week. So, pre-COVID, that's kind of those were the things that I, pretty much did on a regular basis. Working out and exercising should be a part of that. It's not, I need to get back into that, but and I'll make sure I do that. But yeah.
I think we're all just, it's hard sometimes, the motivation isn't there.
It's just,
I want to see anybody, just what, we're good, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, okay. So once, I become successful one day, like you, then I can travel.
You're successful.
I'm joking. No, we do. We enjoy traveling too. No, plans getting canceled is not, that's a whole separate topic. But of course, I'm upset because we canceled a lot this year too.
Yeah.
But that's something you can look forward to once you become successful, like Ray over here. If there was one piece of advice that you could tell your childhood self, I don't know what age you are, but if you can go back and say, self, don't do this, or don't worry about this, what would it be?
Yeah. We kind of hit on it earlier, but it will literally be like just to step back and look at the bigger picture. You know, I was always living in the moment. You know, like I told you, I went down to Michigan State for the shadow day, and that was it. Didn't need to think about anything else, tuition, whatever. I'm in. Let's go. And like, you know, while I don't regret going to Michigan State, I do wish I had considered, you know, in-state school, you know, for that tuition, in-state tuition. And I was at the time I was just too geeked about going to college, you know? And I'm definitely not geeked about paying these student loans, but it's what I have to do. But yeah, I would just say, you know, take a step back and try to, you know, look at the bigger picture, look at your future and how things you're doing now can affect that.
For sure. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. Where can our listeners find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. I'm underscore everything spelled out. It's AREAYEYH or WHY.
It's okay. We will have it linked in the description.
Yeah, just put it in there.
We'll have it linked in the description. No worries. It'll also be on our website. It'll be pretty easy.
Yeah.
All right. So LinkedIn.
I think it's the same across the board too. Twitter, Instagram, and then, yeah.
He's everywhere. You'll find him.
Right.
All right. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Ray, for taking the time. We appreciate your time for being here with us. And thank you all for listening. As a reminder, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Until next time, bye.
Thank you.